All right, good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone, depending on what your situation is. We're back here for another LCCPA video lecture series video. This particular one is part of our creative writing seminar. It's going to be on memoirs, writing memoirs today. So, what are our lesson objectives rather, for today? Two main objectives. The first objective is just to understand what a memoir is and how it functions. Basically learn, if you haven't read memoirs or you don't know very much about memoirs, just kind of familiarize yourself with what that means and how they function. And then secondly, obtain the skill of being able to write a memoir. We want you to be able to write such a piece of literature. So, jumping right in, what is a memoir? Well, what does it sound like is the first question I would ask you. You look at the word memoir, it looks like, if you're like me, you notice that it looks like a word that we're pretty familiar with in our daily vernacular, and that is memory. And that's exactly what a memoir is. It's just the very detailed story of a memory. It's just you writing a very detailed account of a specific memory you have about your life. So, when we talk about making a memoir, it is so important, probably the most important aspect of writing your memoir is to hone in on what it is you want to focus on in your life and have a clear, narrow focus as to what exactly you're going to write about. So, before you even begin doing any kind of brainstorming, I've made some questions. I have some narrow it down questions for you. Some things that you probably want to consider before you decide what exactly you're going to write your memoir on. First, what event or period in your life stands out to you as being extremely influential to the person you have become? Is there something you can look back and say, okay, that thing has caused me to be the person that I am today. I went through this event, whether it be, a car crash or something traumatic, or maybe some really happy event that happened and, turned your life around. What events did you encounter in your life that you feel would be particularly valuable for other people to know about? Maybe there's something that other people can learn from. What particular event or period of time in your life do you feel is extraordinarily unique compared to what others experience? Is there something that just is particularly interesting that you think that others would enjoy reading about? It would be fascinating for others to hear about and really learn something about you in the process. A few more narrow it down questions. Is this event or time period something you have strong feelings about? Obviously, if you're going to write something, it's important to have that event be about something that you're passionate about. The more passion you have about what you're writing about, the more passion will come through in your writing, and the higher the quality the writing will be. It's just that simple. Is it something you know a lot about? Obviously, there are certain memories I know in my life that I can recall with very vivid detail. I can recall like it just happened yesterday. And there's other events, while I do remember the basics of what happened, I don't really remember too much about the event. The details rather, which leads me to my next question. Is it something that you can describe in great detail? Is the memoir something that you can say, I remember it was, about 9:20 in the morning, and we had gotten up, and I was in the bathroom, and I had my Oral-B toothbrush, whatever the case may be, the more detail it is in any kind of writing, any kind of narrative writing, the better the detail is, the better the reading and the writing is going to be. So that's going to be important. Can you make this event period into something your audience will find interesting? If you think it's going to be boring, it's not worth your time writing about it. And then lastly, is this story worth telling? Okay, so all these things, ask these questions of yourself, narrow it down, decide on that main event. A list of activities, some things that you might want to do while you prepare to decide what event you're going to write your memoir on. If you're kind of stuck, some of us, I would think, when you hear about this, you're going to instantly, just like that, come up with your activity that you want to write on. Some of us probably are not going to have that event in our life that is so strongly linked to us that we want to write on. So you can do things like just make a list of all the memories you can remember from your upbringing. If you kept old journals, read your old journals. Look at, specific events that may have had an impact. You can get some details from those journals. talk with your family. Take a trip back down memory lane with some of your family members, mother and father, probably, for instance. If you have siblings, that'd be a good place to start. Talk to them about some important family memories that some events that you guys might have shared together. And then lastly, look through old picture books. If you're anything like me, a couple photo albums flipping through. Next thing you know, you and your family are talking about all kinds of things. Oh, remember this picture from up at the lake? That was the weekend that such and such happened. And it all comes from just one picture. Next thing you know, you've had an account of an entire weekend somewhere, a vacation or something that happened. That would lead you to be able to remember these things in great detail. And maybe be able to base your memoir off of that item. All right, at this time, jumped ahead. At this time, you're going to pause, and you are going to go to, not just yet, I'll tell you when. You're going to pause, you're going to go to the Canvas website, and you are going to watch, there's a short video on writing a 6-word memoir, which is kind of a practice activity that we're going to do on the front end to get us kind of thinking in the terms of how we want to write our memoir. So you're going to watch as a short video on 6-word memoirs. Then on the next page after that, there's actually the written write-up. I know, weird how the write-up was written. There's a write-up that will tell you exactly what I want from you in terms of writing this 6-word memoir. And then you are going to write your 6-word memoir. And essentially, the reason that we are doing this activity is when we write a memoir, we want to have a very specific goal in mind. And ultimately, we want to have a very narrow focus. And sometimes we get too broad in our thinking. And doing this 6-word memoir is going to really help us focus into, there might be all kinds of details and all kinds of different anecdotes that take part throughout your memoir, but at the crux and at the heart of what your memoir is, here's what the story is about, here's what the event is, here's why it's significant, and that's why doing the 6-word memoir is going to be beneficial to you. So at this time, pause the video, go, and I'll see you back after you do that activity. All right, now that you've all done the 6-word memoir, and you've all had a chance to talk with me about that, the next step is pretty simple. Now you are going to write your masterpiece. That's going to be a 3-step process. 3 things I want you to do. The first thing is you are going to write out your goals. I want you to have goals for what you want to accomplish with this memoir. It's going to help us, same way the 6-word memoir does, focus on what's most important in our writing, and so we don't get sidetracked. Okay. First of all, what are you hoping to accomplish through writing this? What do you want to accomplish? What can you gain personally from writing this? And what I mean by that is, sometimes just approval of others can be a beneficial thing to you, but it doesn't have to just be the approval of others. You can gain maybe some kind of closure in your life. You can gain a greater appreciation for something, an event, an experience that you had to go through. There's all kinds of things you can gain from writing a memoir. It's a very personal experience. So what kind of things would you like to gain? The second thing, on the website, there's a wonderful memoir written called Still Here by a former Little Chute High School student named Allie Vanderweist. It is about her experiences going through a very tragic car accident, and she took this class some time back, wrote this wonderful memoir, and I think it'll give you a good kind of framework for, at the student level, what this should look like, how you should structure it, maybe what kind of event you want to focus on. And then after you do that and you have that idea, lastly, you're going to write. You're going to write, you're going to write, you're going to write, you're going to go and go and go and get everything out, get everything on paper. And then after that, you are going to leave it alone. Okay? It's very important, since this can be a very personal piece of writing. You don't want to overanalyze it too quickly right away. So write it, then let it sit for a while, a couple days probably. Okay? So as far as editing and revising goes, you want to just kind of let it sit. Okay? Let your brain kind of get away from it, detach a little bit. You'll be surprised when you come back and you read it again how much you have a different viewpoint on the things that you wrote. And there might be some things that you thought at the time, wow, I have to include that. And then all of a sudden you give it some time and you're like, no, now stepping back, revisiting my goals, coming at it with a different viewpoint. Now I see there's some things that I maybe want to add more to, I want to change. It's always good when you're writing something so personal to give it some time and let it sit. After you do that, after you feel like you have a good firm stance on things that you want to maybe eliminate, first, before you change anything, just edit for grammar. Go through, edit for grammar. Same kind of thing. It'll give you a chance to go through the memoir without really focusing on content too much. What we're trying to do is give your brain some time to relax on the content before the third step is you are going to edit for that content, and ultimately ask yourself the question, did I accomplish my goals? Were my goals accomplished? Is this something that I'm proud of? Because ultimately, the grammar, I'll have a lot of say in that. Mrs. Wojo will have a lot of say in that. However, when it comes down to the content is all you. Content is going to be something that's personal, okay? So that we're not going to really be saying a lot in terms of content. But grammar we will. So the content, this is your baby, and this is your thing that you're going to be doing. So with that in mind, that is our how to write our memoir, our intro to how to write a memoir. You're going to take some time, follow all the instructions. If you have questions, please either watch the video again or come and talk to me. We can sit down and go over this. Other than that, I look forward to reading your memoirs, and have a fantastic day wherever you may be.